Good morning, fellow animal advocates, and welcome to the Pet Place Radio Show. I'm your host, Marie Hulett, and as always, I want to thank you for starting your Sunday morning with us. This morning, our guest will be Tom Nazziola, who has a very musical topic to share that is also pet-related. And then after our halftime break, our old friend from Animal Acres, Lori Houston, will be checking in to give us all the latest news from her farm animal sanctuary. So don't touch that dial. All of this is coming right up here on the Pet Place Radio Show on Retro 1260. Welcome back. You're listening to the Pet Place Radio Show on Retro 1260. I'm Marie Hulett, and it is my pleasure to introduce a very special person to the program. It's Tom Nazziola, the president of Music My Pet. Welcome to the Pet Place, Tom.
Thanks so much.
So, what is this, Music My Pet?
So, Music My Pet is basically, it's a collection of classical pieces from the great classical composers such as Bach and Beethoven, Brahms, that I have rearranged and reorchestrated so that the sounds that are used and the musical content is made to calm pets and basically relieve them of anxiety.
Wow. And how did you know that this worked?
I had a feeling that it would work just from my familiarity with classical music and having dealt with it most of my life. But what it really came down to was putting pieces together, choosing pieces that I felt would work, and then experimenting with it for approximately a year. When we were putting the CD together, we'd have a dog or cat in the studio, but more importantly, when we finished, we beta tested it with friends and people who wanted to try out the CD, and that's how we really knew it worked. And we did that before we released it to the public, so we did all of our homework and research.
So I'm assuming the War of 1812 is not one of your selections?
No, and it's funny that you mention that piece. It's a good segue because sometimes people will ask, well, can I just use any classical music or put on a radio station that features classical music? And you really can't, because a piece like that could wind up on the program and actually cause anxiety for the pet.
Sure, with all the cymbal clashes and timpani drums. I mean, that would startle me.
And you know what? And just the general dramatic feeling of the pieces. I'll give you an example, too, of how it really is a careful process that we have to go through. Beethoven, which is featured on our CD, has written pieces that would not work necessarily in this, like his Fifth Symphony, which is very aggressive and strong and dynamic. So even within a composer's body of works, we have to choose what we think will be best, and it doesn't mean that every piece will work.
So a lot of stringed instruments and woodwinds, probably?
Exactly. And in fact, some of the predominant instruments we work with all the time are the harp, which is known to actually heal pets that are sick.
Wow.
Flute, violin, piano, classical guitar. All of these instruments have a mellow timbre, and even to the human ear, you'll find the same thing. It has a very mellow sound to it.
What inspired you to create a CD like this for animals?
I actually, I worked with Disney's Baby Einstein for close to 10 years as a principal performer of all of their CDs and DVDs. So I was working very closely with classical music in that setting. And personally, I've been involved with classical music since my college days at Eastman School of Music. And I've always been curious to see what the effects of this music would be on animals, because I knew for myself that certain pieces relaxed me. I'd put on certain piano pieces by Chopin or by Brahms, and I felt that tranquility from the music. And I also knew that pets respond emotionally very similar to humans. So I wanted to see what that connection was and if it was in fact the same.
Okay. And does it work on all pets?
It actually, to our knowledge and from the feedback that we've received, it seems to work on all pets. We haven't tested it with all pets, to be honest. We did test it with some of the the main household pets like cats, dogs, birds,
Okay.
etc. But we're getting feedback from people that we never thought we'd hear from, and this is going to make you laugh, but we had somebody come up to us at a trade show with a skunk that apparently they had did what they had to do to remove its defense mechanisms, the scent that it gives out, and they use it for their skunk. And I said to myself, well, now I've heard everything. You know, we were definitely not testing with skunks, but here we have a customer that said it worked for their skunk. So.
Oh, wow, that is funny.
Yeah.
I know that there are a lot of CDs that are designed specifically for animals and for calming them down. What makes your CD different from some of these others that are out there?
I think the main difference has to do with the content itself. I'm familiar with some of the other products that are out there, and there are many fine products. For the most part, they feature original music by composers that most of us are not familiar with. You know, they're current living composers who've put out their own music. And our CD features music of famous and you know, time-tested music of people like Schubert, Schumann, Bach, Beethoven, and the ones I've mentioned earlier. So it's music and composers that you're familiar with, as opposed to other people that are writing pieces that we haven't heard, or maybe we even haven't heard of the composers themselves. Okay.
I know that a lot of pets that are in shelters and rescues tend to get very agitated and upset. Have you tried using any of your CDs in shelters or rescue foster homes or anything like that?
Well, actually, we did, and we're currently pursuing that on a regular basis. One of the biggest pet shelters or rescue organizations, which is Best Friends Society out in Utah, they're very strict about what they carry and what they represent, and they had to test our CD before agreeing to carrying it on their website. And their caretaker, a caregiver, I should say, tested it a couple of days and said that it worked really well. And we've been finding the same thing with other shelters that we give it to, in organizations like the New York City Mayor's Alliance for New York City Animals, Kitty Kind, Italian Greyhound Club of America. So these are all pet shelters and organizations that carry our product, and they use it, and they know it works.
Wow, that's wonderful. If you had a particularly agitated pet, how quickly would the CD, or the music on the CD rather, calm them?
It's going to vary from pet to pet, because pets are like people in that they all have their own personalities and you know, behave in certain ways. But it can work as quickly as 2 minutes, which some people have reported to us that within 2 minutes the dog or cat would gravitate towards the speaker and go to sleep. But I'd say on the average it's probably within the first 10 minutes.
Okay. Now, just like people, I suspect that animals might get bored of hearing the same songs over and over. Are you planning additional titles, or am I all wrong? Animals never get bored.
We actually are working on another title this year. You know, we have our main title, which is Classic Cuts, and that's what we've been talking about. And then we also have a holiday CD, which we just released in December of 2010, or November, somewhere towards the end of the year. So that has holiday music on it, and this year we'll be working on a CD of music by some of the composers on the first, but also composers we haven't heard from yet. So it's going to have some more variety to it.
Alrighty. And are you going to have any vocal selections, or have you found that vocal selections don't really work?
I don't know if they work or not. It's just that we wanted to limit this to instrumental, because that's something that I know definitely does work, and it's just sort of the concept and sound of our product. So I think we're going to stay with instrumental. Okay.
I know one of the biggest problems people have with dogs in particular is separation anxiety, where if somebody has to go to work or go shopping or run errands, their pet gets into trouble or is very upset and begins to bark, etc. can somebody use a CD while they're gone, and that'll calm the dog? Have you had any kind of response regarding separation anxiety?
I'd say that's the predominant use of the CD by pet owners, because most people have to leave during the day to go to work or do what they have to do. So it's worked really well for that, and what we suggest is that people put the CD on continuous play when they leave the house, and then when they come back, usually they'll find their pet nice and calm and relaxed.
Outstanding. Where can somebody purchase a copy of it?
The direct way to get this would be to go to our website, which is www.musicmypet.com.
Okay.
And you can find both titles on that CD.
And do you have some of your testimonials from some of your users on the site?
Yes. You'll see testimonials from pet shelters. We actually have one from a 1010 Wins anchor person, Susan Richards, has a nice testimonial on there. And just also users of the CD from various places.
Okay. Well, this is fun stuff, and I want to really thank you so much for coming to the Pet Place today, and I wish you much success with Music My Pet.
Thank you so much.
It is time now for our halftime break, but when we return, Lori Houston from Animal Acres will be here. So don't go away, and we'll be right back with more of the Pet Place Radio Show on Retro 1260.